Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So we're continuing in our book, The Islamic Methodologies in Spiritual Purification, or the Purification of the Soul. And today we're talking about contemplating and pondering over creation, looking at these signs of God, as it were, in creation and coming to a closeness to the Creator. So without a doubt, the human being is distinguished from all animals on this earth with this intellectual capacity, this deep philosophizing and creative analysis of the way things are. And so by this, we actually can appreciate, unlike other beings, the difference between something that's beautiful and amazing and something that's ugly and bland. We can distinguish between truth and falsehood because we have this linguistic capacity to understand and explain and express things through language. And of course, ultimately, we see good and evil. What we're talking about is recognizing purpose in all of creation. So this at-tafakkur, this thinking and contemplating, it is without a question a fundamental act of worship in Islam. And so you will probably find many Muslims that live their whole life as Muslim, and they never thought of this as an aspect of worship. Like, when I'm doing this, if I have this intention to see God's creation and his signs in his creation, that I get closer to him and that he is pleased with me, rewarding me for doing as such. And so the most key verse of the Quran, and this is at the end of Surah Al-Imran, verses number 190 and 191. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك. This verse is the core verse. The meaning of it is, surely in the creation of the heavens above you and the earth that you are standing on, and the alternation of night and day, as we live throughout the day, seeing and doing whatever we have to handle, and in the night it cools down and becomes dark, and then our eyes feel a sense of calmness, and the melatonin can release and we can go to sleep. And these are signs for intellectuals, people who see the purpose in creation and people who recognize the beauty of the Creator. Who are these people? These are those who remember God, whether they're standing or sitting or laying down on their side. And they find themselves contemplating creation and thinking, oh, our nurturing Lord, surely you did not create all of this for no purpose. So this verse was perhaps, if we could say, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was very, very attached to a certain verse of the Quran outside of Ayatul Kursi, for example. It would be this verse. There's literally many, many hadiths mentioned by various companions that the Prophet ﷺ would recite this verse, particularly either before or during his tahajjud prayers, his nightly prayers in the last third of the night. And there's some hadiths which mention that Aisha radiallahu anha saw him crying, and that his beard and his shirt, and then he talked about this ayah and the revelation of it just touching him in a very special way. And there's times when he used to look up and he would see the stars and the creation and the mountains around him, and he would just be moved to salah because of this contemplation. Now he wants to form a direct bond with the artist that has created the heavens and the earth, al-Musawwir. And he warned, when somebody asked him about the beauty and the depth and why he loves this ayah so much, he says, وَيْلٌ لِمَنْ قَرَأَهَا وَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرْ فِيهَا. beware to the one who reads this or recites this verse and doesn't even contemplate it, doesn't think deeply about it. And so that is for all of the Quran, but specifically this one because of the connection we're seeing between creator and creation. Abu Darda, one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, may God be pleased with him, he actually is narrated authentically to have said, تَفَكُّرُ سَاعَةٍ خَيْرٌ مِّن قِيَامِ لَيْلَةٍ, that to ponder and contemplate over creation for just an hour is better than spending the whole night in prayer. Look at how the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they took from him. Look at how they saw this connection with nature and creation as a connection to God in and of himself. See, the point of all of this is that we have to see divine beauty and purpose in everything. And we were given our senses and our multifaceted, deep richness in how we perceive things in this way for this reason. وَلَقَدْ ذَرَأْنَا لِجَهَنَّمَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ لَهُمْ قُلُوبٌ لَا يَفْقَهُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا وَلَهُمْ آذَانٌ لَا يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا أُولَئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ أُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. So he says, surely we have prepared the hellfire for all of these jinns and people who completely neglect these big blessings we have in our perception faculties. And he says they have hearts by which they do not really ponder and think over things. He's not talking about the physical organ, the heart. He's talking about at their core, at their depth of emotion of who they are not moved by God's signs around them and within them. وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. They don't even actually see with an insight. They're just looking at things as an animal would look at things. And they don't use their ears to hear the beauty of his creation. And then he says these are people who are just like animals. Actually, they're worse because they are heedless of the Creator, heedless of recognizing that at all moments of their entire life, they are surrounded by the many signs of the Creator, and that even within their body is the signs of their Creator as He has fashioned and made things with specific purposes for specific reasons. We live in a very secular world, a world that is ever increasingly discarding and disregarding religion and spirituality as some old mythological nonsense. And so then there is this liberalism that says, just take some of the religious things that make you feel good, or you feel you gain some benefit, or you feel like you're somehow fulfilling your culture, and anything that you don't feel is right, or probably that you were conditioned to feel is not right, then leave it. And so this mentality of demeaning the purpose for which we were created and our ability to recognize in a very deep, beautiful way the purpose of creation around us, we could never neglect that. And so the Quran hammers this point in many places. We have قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانظُرُوا كَيْفَ بَدَأَ الْخَلْقِ. So go look around the earth and look at things deeply and see how the creation was began. And so we're looking into things through a scientific analysis in this ayah. أَفَلَا يَنظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ كَيْفَ نُصِبَتْ وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. So this Surah Al-Ghashiyah, same thing. Do people not really look close at a camel and think about how it works? You know, the Arabs, they had many camels back then. And so they have this animal that serves so many needs and is created in a specific way. And so to look at the purpose of this animal, when you look at the sky above you and you look how it is and how everything exists, and you look at the mountains and the earth and see how everything is created with structure and order. So this is this thought and this reflection. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق أولم يكف بربك أنه على كل شيء شهيد. At the end of Surah Shura, we will show them, all of the people that are in this world, specifically the doubters in revelation and prophethood. We will show them in the horizons in front of them, and we will show them inside of themselves our signs so that the people could realize that this is the truth. Isn't it that your nurturing Lord is sufficient a witness over all of this? So we share this scientific awe. We share the feeling that scientific people have as believers, as Muslims, that they have with the way things were created and how we can study them and find out about them. The Quran is telling us to do as such. And this is why for a long period of history, many centuries, it was the Islamic Caliphate, a place theocratically ruled by a religious concept, that this growth and development of science and technology was developed. And so Surah, I think, Sad, if I'm not mistaken, صُنْعَ اللَّهِ الَّذِي أَتْقَنَ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. So this is the fashioning, this is the making and creation of God, who has perfected everything he created. He has given everything its purpose and its design and its natural order. So there are so many benefits to be taken from this core teaching of Islamic spirituality. The first is awakening this innate natural inclination to God, this recognition of Creator, and this appreciation and praise and glory and awe of everything that He has created as we look at it. And so the more we look into those things and the more we study how it works and the more we look into purpose, our faith is strengthened. When we say our faith, we're talking about our connection and commitment to God, who is our creator, provider, and sustainer. And we gain a lot of humility because we start to realize the more we study ourselves, as many of these verses said, that وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. And in yourselves, don't you look deeply with insight? Surah Dhariyat. And so we become humbled, realizing how so much of every moment of our day is being blessed and arranged and ordered by the arranger and orderer of all affairs. And so we are blessed, and we have nothing and could be nothing and could do nothing. I mean, when we just think about how we're talking and listening, how we're doing that through a computer, how we are able to walk, how we're able to coordinate our movements and actions. When you study those things, when you study what happens when the light goes through your eyes and what happens in the retina and how the cornea reacts with the retina and what's happening in the back of your mind and all of the different means, when you look at just this inside of the ear and how it works, when you look at the heart beating, when you look at all of these things, the way our body is functioning, when we look at and survey just 1 square foot of the forest, we will see so much interactive life doing so many things for this symbiotic relationship that is serving all of the welfare of everything around it. And things were programmed in that way. So we are just simply specks of dust, blessed to recognize all these favors that we are surrounded and filled with by our compassionate, merciful, benevolent Lord. And so also thinking about creation and thinking about what happens around us and what's happening in our minds and our decisions and where we fit in with all of that, this is where we gain wisdom. Contemplating creation, we are obviously part of creation. Contemplating human behavior, psychology, sociology, human interaction, situational realities, that's where we gain wisdom. So I want to conclude with just the beautiful way that God inspired Moses to respond to Pharaoh when Pharaoh challenged him, right, about who is his Rabb. He was using this Lord, this word for nurturing Lord, Rububiyyah, the one that cares for, provides, takes, gives the means to grow and develop. So, قَالَ فَمَنْ رَبُّكُمَا يَا مُوسَى? He said he's talking to Moses and Aaron, it's using the dual here. So, who it is that you claim is your Lord? Who is the one that nurtures you? And so, of course, Pharaoh has fashioned himself into the Lord. قَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. I'm your Lord the Most High, he said. So then Moses responds to him, قال ربنا الذي أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. He says, our nurturing Lord is the one who created everything and designed it in a specific way for a specific purpose, and then set in motion in it the means of guidance. Everything has been guided to function in a specific way. Without that guidance, without the structure by which it was created, and without the guidance of how to function, it's like the difference between creating a computer and then programming it with the way that it works. If you can have a computer all you want, but if it doesn't have a program of how, it's not going to figure it out, it's not going to work on its own. It needs one to both design it and give it its purpose. And so God is the designer and the one who gives purpose to everything. And the more we study things, the more we will see this. And the more we will live in praise and in gratitude, the more we will want to pray extra prayers, the more we will want to fulfill our purpose, which is to serve the divine, which is to serve and uphold the value and the wholeness and the wholesomeness of all of creation. Jazakumullahu khairan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.